Oscar Guy here. How's it going, y'all? Today is January 18th, 2025, and it is time for updated Oscar predictions just before the Oscar nominations will be announced next week. Nominations were supposed to be announced yesterday, but due to, obviously, the LA wildfires, things have been pushed back this award season. Not only the Oscar nominations announcement, but the Critics' Choice ceremony, which was supposed to happen this past Sunday, has now been pushed to February 7th. So some things have shifted around for sure. So we actually don't have any Critics' Choice winners. We do have Critics' Choice nominees, SAG nominees, but we don't have any Critics' Choice winners, BAFTA winners, SAG winners, obviously. So this is going to be pre-Critics' Choice winners, pre-Oscar nominations, Oscar predictions. I haven't updated my predictions in quite some time, so you'll see some things shift around and things get added and removed and whatnot as we go through each category here. So PGA nominations were released. All of the guilds, the Technical Craft Guild nominations have been announced, as well as WGA. So a lot of things have happened. DGA as well. We have some answers, not all the answers, but most of the answers we need to at least do a final round of Oscar nomination predictions. So I'm gonna try to keep this short and try to do it in one video. I don't want to spend too much time in each category as opposed to my previous videos, so we're gonna try to zip through this and I'll be as succinct as I can. I will say it's been a very chaotic year. It's been an incredibly chaotic award season comparatively to last year and even the year before. It's pretty insane, the twists and turns and wrenches thrown in things particularly by SAG and by Golden Globes. It's kind of wild, you know. We can speculate all we want, but at the end of the day, I'm going with more of a feeling, more of going with my gut, as opposed to last year and the year before. As you guys know, if you've been watching my videos for the past couple of years, I've been very reliant on stats, and that can only get you so far. Stats are not rules, they're just merely facts. And they usually line up, but they don't always do. And there's so many factors involved that goes into that. There's stats involved, there's narratives involved, there's political things that are involved, there's so many factors other than just numbers. Let's just dive in, starting with it. Best Picture. All right, let's start off with Best Picture. So for right now, I have at number 1. So the top 5, or really the top 4 that you see right here: Conclave, Anora, The Brutalist, Emilia Perez. I think these 4 each have their own case to win Best Picture. It's kind of crazy that it's January 18th and we still don't know what the hell is winning Best Picture right now. Conclave has been doing very, very well with the guilds, and it performed well at BAFTA. It is mostly the most agreeable movie of the year. Like, no matter which side you fall on, like, most people will say that they really like Conclave. It's not like an amazing movie, but it's good enough to show up at places. So it has that going for it. I can see a path. It's most likely going to be winning adapted screenplay. It's going to get into a lot of texts. It could pull off a Spotlight where it just gets screenplay picture and then that's it, and we can wrap it up. That's a possibility. Anora is a possibility. Anora's been a little bit up and down. It didn't win anything at Globes. It didn't win a single Golden Globe, which was crazy. But it's still been showing up. The actors have been showing up in acting categories. It performed well at BAFTA, at SAG. It's not winning a whole lot. It's winning a lot of critics' prizes, particularly for Mikey Madison and Yuri Borisov. And from what I understand, it is still the front runner for critics groups. The most amount of critics groups have given Best Picture to Anora. So, but for right now, it's just kind of shaky until we see it pick up some awards here and there. Like, I think Mikey Madison needs to win actress over Demi Moore in order for Picture to happen. It's most likely winning screenplay, original screenplay, so it has that going for it. It did get an editing nomination at BAFTA, so that was pretty big. I can see a case for that. The Brutalist has been doing pretty well. I don't want to say it's been doing great. It did not have a great SAG showing. Only Adrian Brody got nominated. No SAG Ensemble nomination. It did very well at BAFTA. All three actors got nominated. Director, I mean, Brady Corbet has been getting into every director category this year for sure. Adrien Brody has a Golden Globe under his belt. It won the Golden Globe for drama. It's been winning a lot of critics prizes. It's just some things. It's not getting into a lot of craft categories, surprisingly, other than cinematography and score. It hasn't been doing very well in editing, and editing is a pretty big category when it comes to Best Picture frontrunners. So I don't know. I can see a path for it, but it's got an uphill battle for sure. It's got an uphill battle. It did get into PGA and it got into DGA, I believe. Let me see. Let's see. Let's just look at the race here. Brutalist. Yeah, so it's gotten in everywhere it needs to, except for SAG Ensemble. I can see a path for it, but it needs a boost. It definitely needs a boost. If it gets director, if it gets actor for Adrien Brody, I don't see it winning screenplay, and I don't see it even getting nominated for editing. It's going to have to pick up like one or two tech awards, like cinematography, like score. So I can see a path for that. And then the other one, of course, is everybody's favorite, Amelia Perez. Not really. So Amelia Perez has come to be known as the enemy of this award season. A lot of people have issues with it. I have my own issues with it. A film that I have very mixed feelings on. I think it's very well made and well acted, but it is extremely problematic and misguided if I'm being nice about it. But the industry absolutely loves it, especially international voters. And a lot of the Oscar voting committee are international nowadays. So it's gonna come with a very large nomination haul. It might even get the most nominations out of every film that's listed here. Whether we like it or not, it's gonna happen. It won Golden Globe comedy. Zoe Saldana is the front runner for supporting actress. Audiard has been getting everywhere for director. It's doing all that it needs to. It performed very well at SAG, very well at BAFTA. It got the PGA nomination. It's lining up. It's lining up. And if something happens, if it somehow wins SAG Ensemble over Wicked, be scared. Be scared. Emilie Perez is going to show up. At the very least, it's going to show up in a lot of categories. A lot of categories. And it's one of the 4 Best Picture frontrunners, I believe. So those top 4 are there. A Complete Unknown is a film that has surprisingly and shockingly have been doing very well. The industry seems to love it. All of the guilds are going gung-ho for it. It got PGA. It got DGA for James Mangold, shockingly. It's gotten everywhere it needs to, all the way from NBR and AFI to Golden Globe Drama, Critics' Choice, SAG Ensemble, PGA, BAFTA. It's been getting everywhere in the tech categories at all of the guilds, as we'll see. Even some of the supporting actresses, like Monica Barbaro, got a SAG nomination. Timmy's showing up everywhere. He threatens to win at SAG, I think. It's performing a lot better than I thought it was going to. And I've seen the movie, and I think it's pretty good. It borders on great. I wouldn't call it like great per se, but it's very, very good. As a Best Picture frontrunner, I don't really understand, but that's just me. It's a very good movie, but for some reason the industry is kind of going crazy for it. So that is there. That's number 5. Wicked has been doing very well. The hype for it since my last predictions video has definitely gone down a little bit. But nevertheless, it's been showing up everywhere. It's gotten into Globe, Critics' Choice, SAG Ensemble, PGA. It didn't do crazy good at BAFTA. I mean, Cynthia Erivo got into actress at BAFTA, which is pretty strong for her. I think it'll definitely show up. It's going to be a big tech player. Erivo is on the cusp to get it nominated for Best Actress. A lot of people are predicting her. Grande, of course, is getting in everywhere for supporting actress. Even cinematography, it got an ASC nomination to everyone's surprise and to some chagrin. It's been showing up still. So I have that at number 6. I don't think it's a front runner per se. I don't see it winning, but it's solidly in there. Dune Part 2 solidly in there. It hasn't been doing great comparatively to the first Dune. I think it's just kind of like a fatigue kind of thing. It came out almost a year ago. It was supposed to come out over a year ago, but was pushed back due to the strikes, of course. So, it's not doing amazingly, but it's still showing up where it needs to. it showed up at AFI Top 10, Golden Globe Drama, Critics' Choice, and it got a PGA nomination. Didn't do too great at BAFTA, although Villeneuve surprisingly got into director, which was very interesting. But I think that's still solidly in there. It missed out on a screenplay nomination at BAFTA, which worries me about its chances to get into screenplay at the Oscars, but we'll get there. The Substance, a lot of people probably have this a little bit higher, but you can't really doubt it anymore. You can't really doubt The Substance anymore. Again, it's another film that has gotten in pretty much everywhere it can. It didn't get a SAG Ensemble nomination, but and then it didn't get a Best Film nomination at BAFTA, although it performed fairly well at BAFTA in regards to nominations. Demi Moore, with her win and her narrative, is really helping it. She's really kind of driving that. It's really driving the Substances Awards chances for sure. She is kind of like, she's taking the reins really. So she's really helping its chances. It's definitely in the top 10. Whether Oscar voters are going to connect with it the same way that a lot of other awards bodies and a lot of other critics groups and guilds have been receiving it, it's hard to say right now, but I want to say that it's going to surprise some people that it will show up, despite the Oscars' reluctance toward horror, much less body horror films. But it's the thing. It's the big. It's this year's, or it was really last year's film sensation. That is solidly in there. A Real Pain. I had off of my Best Picture 10 for a long time because early on in the awards race, it wasn't doing too hot. It wasn't doing too hot. So it did get into Golden Globe comedy, and Jesse Eisenberg was nominated for leading actor. Kieran Culkin, easily the front runner for supporting actor, so that's helping it out. But then it missed Critics' Choice. It missed BAFTA. It didn't do too well at BAFTA, although it did get a screenplay nomination. But it did get a PGA nomination, which is very big for its chances. It's definitely not a surefire thing. I think it's these last two slots in particular are very up in the air. Real Pain could be in here, and then we'll get to September 5 and Sing Sing and Nickel Boys. But I think A Real Pain might squeeze in last minute because it seems like the right movie that they'll nominate. And then September 5 has been having a resurgence. It got a surprise PGA nomination. It got into, I believe, it's been getting into editing a lot of places. That getting a PGA nomination kind of scares me, along with kind of sneaking into other precursors like Golden Globe drama. It got that lone Golden Globe nomination. It got into Critics' Choice in a few areas. I just feel like that could happen. Not set in stone by any means, but it could happen. Sing Sing. This upsets me, everyone. This really upsets me. I really... Sing Sing is a dying horse. It really hasn't been performing very well. I mean, it's crazy. Flashback to the Gotham Awards not too long ago, where it won that Ensemble Award, and then Coleman Domingo and Clarence Macklin both won in their acting categories with 10 nominations each, and I thought like that was enough of a springboard for it to like get another awards campaign going on top of getting re-released this month. But it just hasn't been happening. It's not been showing up. It did get those 3 BAFTA nominations this past week. Coleman Domingo got in, Clarence Macklin got in, and it got into Screenplay, which was very big. And those were the only 3 categories that they were longlisted in. So it maxed out at BAFTA. But it missed PGA, and that was a almost devastating blow to Sing Sing. It hasn't been getting into DGA. I don't believe it got into WGA. The Golden Globes basically shunned it. They only nominated Coleman Domingo, and that was it. Really, the only place it's ever been nominated other than that is Critics' Choice. It was just nominated Critics' Choice. And it was just an early year film that a lot of people were talking about, but it's just been dying. It's just been fading away. And it's such a shame because it's such a great movie, and it's such, I mean, this time last year, or maybe about a half a year ago, maybe a little bit over half a year ago, it was one of the front runners for Best Picture. I probably had it at number 1 at some point last year, but the campaign for it was just all over the place. It just wasn't marketed in the right way at all. It had had a weird release schedule. It's technically a 2023 film. It was just, it was kind of a curse. They were kind of working it was an uphill battle for Sing Sing for this past year, and they might be losing the battle. If it gets into Best Picture, that would be incredible. That would be a win in itself for it to just show up out of nowhere. That would be great. But it's at number 11. Same thing with Nickel Boys. Nickel Boys just hasn't been taking off. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of like this year's All of Us Strangers. It's just one of the most critically acclaimed films of the year, and it's not getting enough love anywhere, really. It got into Critics' Choice, and it got into Golden Globe Drama, although that was its only nomination. Anjanou Ellis Taylor I think was nominated for a Critics' Choice, but that was about it. I don't know where else she was nominated, but that hasn't really been taking off. It missed PGA. It even missed BAFTA, although it did get a screenplay nomination at BAFTA, which was great. But no ASC nomination for cinematography, no DGA nomination. Ramel Ross hasn't been really showing up in a lot of directing places, which just boggles my mind. It's just not happening for Nickel Boys. It's just not happening. I don't know. I hope something happens and there'll be a final surge, but I just don't really see it happening. And then I have All We Imagine Is Light listed down here. It's been doing pretty well. It's been winning a lot of international feature awards along the way, but it hasn't really been doing enough for it to have a Best Picture presence. But I have it listed here anyway, just in case. Same thing with The Apprentice. I don't know. I just have those kind of thrown down there for right now. So that's it. Right now, Conclave, Nora, The Brutalist, Amelia Perez, Completely Unknown, Wicked, Dune Part 2, The Substance, Real Pain, and September 5. Now, I will say that this is, ladies and gentlemen, the PGA 10. And look, I know that is unwise of me to do that because last year we went 10 for 10 with PGA, and that was pretty much the first time that's ever happened. And for it to have happened 2 years in a row is kind of unheard of, and it's definitely most likely not going to happen. But guess what? I'm doing it anyway because you know what? Screw it. Because if it does turn out to be PGA 10 again, come back here. I literally, with all of these moving pieces and all of the snubs and everything and every other area in the awards race, it's just it doesn't make sense to do anything else, really. Why would I put Sing Sing in if it's just been blanking everywhere? Why would I be putting Nickel Boys in, which it has almost nothing going for it? What am I going to put in Challengers? Like Challengers is barely on the cusp to get any nominations, really. I do have it in for Screenplay for right now, and it could get into Score, but outside of that, like, what's it got? It doesn't have anything to show for it other than Golden Globe comedy. So, is Juror Number 2? Is that going to make? I saw an article today. It was a Variety article. It was like, is Juror Number 2 a surprise Best Picture? No. You see that? No, it ain't gonna happen for Clint. I'm doing the PGA 10. So sue me. And let's move on. Bro. All right, let's talk about Best Director. We're gonna do this pretty swiftly. So I got Corbet, I got Baker, I got Audiard, I got Farjat, and guess what? I still have Ross in. I know that's unwise, but this is, ladies and gentlemen, I call this a hope diction. I'm hope dicting. I'm hope dicting for Ramel Ross. I've been predicting him all year. Ever since Nickel Boys came out, ever since I've seen it, I have gone on the record and said that is a director's branch pick. If there's any movie this year that'll be the director's branch pick, much like Zone of Interest of last year, it's going to be Ramel Ross for Nickel Boys. But the thing is, Ross just hasn't been doing enough, and Nickel Boys is just not in a good spot right now. Missing PGA, missing DGA, missing ASC. It got like a spotlight recognition at ASC. Like, what are we doing? It just hasn't been doing good. So a lot of people are doubting Ramel Ross's chances now. But I'm gonna stick to my guns, and I don't care. Again, I'm not doing that deep of a dive into stats this time. I'm going off of feelings, off my gut, of the general vibe of this award season, as chaotic as it is. That's what I'm doing. Ideally, I think it would be Edward Berger for Conclave to get in, because he's been doing very, very well as well. He's been doing fantastically. He's been getting in everywhere. He's the only other director here that I have missing that has gotten in absolutely everywhere. But this happens. It happens every year. Like, there will be a front runner and he'll just miss. They'll just miss at the end of the day, and either in this category or other categories. It happens every now and again. And, you know, Farjat, I think they'll go for to get an established female director into the race. They like to do that. They did Justine Triet from last year. That was a surprise. I think she is this year's Justine Triet, Coralie Farjat for The Substance. And then Kapadia, I don't see really happening. She did get a Golden Globe nomination, but outside of that, has been happening a lot. But we have international voters that might go for that. Maybe she'll be the shock of this year. I'm not sure. And of course, we got to talk about Denis Villeneuve. Pour one out for Denis Villeneuve for, I mean, his direction for Dune Part 2 it deserves an Oscar. Like, for my money, he should be winning. But the fact that he might miss, that he most likely will miss, is crazy. He missed Globe, he got into Critics' Choice, he missed DGA, and then he somehow got into BAFTA. I don't know how, but even with critics groups, he hasn't been doing very well. Courbet has been the front runner pretty much for a lot of this year. So I think he's been sweeping up a lot of it. Sean Baker's been sweeping up a lot of it. Audiard has been showing up everywhere. That's like a gimme. Mangold somehow got into DGA, so we can talk. We could talk about that, but I'm not going to. That I just don't see that happening at all. But yeah, I got Ross in. I don't know. I just still have a feeling about it. But Berger probably makes the most sense. If he gets in over Ross or over anybody else, it'll be a shock. If he maybe takes the spot of Farjat or Audiard, or God forbid one of these two boys, geez, that would be insane. That's what we got. Rosloff we got down here. Eggers we got down at the bottom. That ain't gonna happen. But for right now, I have Courbet winning just because he's just been killing it everywhere. He won the Globe. We'll see what happens at the other precursors. He did get into DGA. I just think it'll happen. It'll happen for sure. So that's director. Moving on to actress, we have Demi Moore at number 1. We have Mikey Madison at number 2. Those two are going to be battling it out, I think. Demi Moore's narrative is unquestionably strong. Did you see her speech at the Golden Globes? I mean, it's that is her campaign, basically. Like, her comeback. She was meant for this role. It's a career-defining role for her, and it's very critically lauded, and it's a damn good performance. So the mirror scene in the film, it pretty much showcases, that's basically her Oscar clip, and that is pretty much encapsulates the film's themes and her narrative as well. So I think that's very good for her. I know The Substance is a crazy body horror film, and the fact that she is at number 1 right now is just insane. It's crazy. It's crazy. But right underneath her, I think also having a shot is the newcomer Mikey Madison, Honora. I had her at number 1 previously, but again, I think it's really between her and Moore. Moore winning over Madison at Golden Globes was pretty big, for sure. So that's partially why I have them kind of duking it out with Moore at number 1 for right now, but that's what we got there. Gascon at number 3. I don't know why I was doubting Gascon a few months ago, but she's been getting in everywhere, absolutely everywhere that she needs to. She won the European Film Awards for Best Actress, I believe. So that is very good for her. I don't see her missing. If she misses, it would be insane. It would be if the Amelia Perez is going to be the most nominated film at the Oscars. Why doesn't Gascon come along with it? That would be probably the biggest shock of Oscar nomination morning, if that even happened. It would probably be even just as big, if not a bigger shock than Margot Robbie missing last year for Barbie. It's kind of on that same level. Like, she is the movie, essentially. So she is solidly in the top 3. I'm kind of going out on a limb with these next 2 picks. I have Marion Jean-Baptiste from Hard Truths, and I have Fernanda Torres from I'm Still Here getting into 4 and 5 spot, respectively. Jean-Baptiste has been doing pretty well. She got a Critics' Choice nomination and a BAFTA nomination. But she did win what they call the Critics Awards Trifecta, which is New York, LA, and I gotta look up the other one. I don't remember what the other one was. Okay. So it's the National Society of Film Critics, New York Film Critics Circle, and the Los Angeles Film Critics Association. That is the trifecta right there. If you win all three of those, you are basically guaranteed a Best Picture nomination statistically. Now, I said in the beginning of the video that I'm not really throwing stats out the window. I'm just saying stats are mostly secondary now. But that is really hard to pass up, that statistic. And I just feel like that could be something that they'll go for over Erivo. Erivo could upset and show up over her, but I feel like they would go more towards a performance in that caliber. I haven't seen Hard Truths, and I hear she is a powerhouse in the film. And it is, if there's any film this year that needs an Oscar nomination that has been showing up absolutely everywhere, it's that one. So I can see them going for that over Erivo, over Anderson, over even Jolie, which we'll get to in a bit. Kidman. I mean, it seems like something that they'll go for. And then at number 5, I have Fernanda Torres, who hasn't been showing up really at all other than her Golden Globe drama win. And that was big. That win was very, very big for her. To win over Kidman, Swinton, Winslet, Angelina Jolie, Pamela Anderson in that category. To win all over those women, like, that was big. I know the Golden Globes have a lot of international voters now. I think internationally, people are really going gung-ho for her performance. And she has an incredibly devoted fan base, for sure. They'll probably be sounding off in my comments as I'm talking right now. As you're watching my video right now, if you scroll down to the comments, leave a comment, by the way, you'll probably see some Torres stands in the chat. How's it going? I'm rooting for y'all. It's wonderful that you're showing this woman all the support that she deserves, because, again, I have not seen I'm Still Here. I've been trying to see it. I don't have any theaters around me that's playing it, so, like, what's up? But I hear she is incredible in the film. And the Oscars like to go out of their way to nominate an international actor or actress in their categories. Think Isabelle Huppert last year with Sandra Hüller. That's another one. The actress from Amour, that I'm forgetting her name from, I think from 2012, the film Amour. She was nominated. There's a lot of examples out there. So that just seems like that kind of nomination for that to happen over the more obvious picks like Cynthia Erivo, who I hear is fantastic in Wicked. But musical performances are like hit or miss nowadays. I mean, they typically go for more like supporting, musical performers historically over like leading performers. I don't know when the last time a leading performer in a musical even won an Oscar. For some reason, I'm doubting it. I'm not doubting it a lot. I mean, if she gets in, I won't be shocked. I can still see it happening, but for some reason, I have Jean-Baptiste and Torres in my heart of hearts. I think that is something that could happen. But I have her at number 6. In any case, Pamela Anderson, Last Showgirl. There's been a campaign for her, for sure. And it's somehow been working because she got into SAG and she got into Golden Globe drama. Her getting into SAG, along with Jamie Lee Curtis, was very big for her. So I don't know. Maybe that'll happen. That seems like kind of like a small and very underseen film that could get nominated, unless there's kind of like an Andrea Riseborough-esque campaign surrounding her. I doubt it. I haven't been seeing it really at all. We'll see. She's at number 7 for right now. Jolie, Maria, like, what happened to that? What happened to that, man? She was in my top 5 last time. She went down 6 slots. Why? Oh, I'll tell you why. She missed at BAFTA, and she missed at SAG. And she hasn't been nominated. She hasn't been winning a lot of critics groups really at all. She got nominated at Golden Globe and Critics' Choice, but like outside of that, there's just no passion for that film, and there's no passion for that performance. Comparatively to Spencer, and comparatively to Jackie, Pablo Larraín's last 2 films, it's not going to be a repeat. It's not going to be a repeat. So I think her chances are dead. Same thing with Nicole Kidman. She hasn't been doing too terribly well lately. She did get into Golden Globe drama, and she won Best Actress at Venice, which is a great award, but it doesn't really bode anything in regards to late season awards chances. Unfortunately, they do love Nicole Kidman, but I just don't think that it's her year. Unfortunately. Same thing with Amy Adams' Night Bitch. I remember when that was number one all those months ago, back before we didn't know anything about Night Bitch. And then that trailer came out, and we were like, "Oh, this is not going to be good." And then the movie came out, and it was like, "Okay, that trailer was kind of ass." So the movie's really good, from what I hear, and she gives a great performance, but it's not like the type of performance that I guess the Oscars would go for, and most awards bodies would go for anyway. But shout out to Amy Adams. Sorry, this is not your year. And same thing with Saoirse Ronan, another early front runner that I thought for sure was going to happen. But she blanked all season long. Other than BAFTA, she got that BAFTA nomination recently, and that is amazing. But that is definitely a BAFTA-esque pick for sure. I'm very happy that she got that nomination, but I just don't think that's going to translate to the Oscars. If it does, I will be shocked. So I have her near the bottom of the list. Sorry, Saoirse, I love you, but it's not your year. It's not your year. We thought it was going to be your year with between this and Blitz, but it hasn't happened for either of those performances in either of those films. So sorry. Kate Winslet, former Oscar winner. She had kind of a campaign going on for a performance in Lee. That's mostly like an overseas international kind of film that's been doing very successful, but nobody in America really has seen it a lot, and I hear the film is not great. Kind of a mid film with a very good performance from Kate Winslet. Not really enough for her to show up, I think. She did get a Globe nomination in drama, but I think that's where it's going to stop. So she is at the bottom of the list there. And that is actress, ladies and gentlemen. More Madison Gascon, John Baptiste Torres. Locking it in. Let's move on. All right, so actor. I have Brody still at the top. He's been doing wonderfully. He won the Golden Globe for drama, of course. He might even sweep the season, but right behind his coattails is Mr. Timmy Chalamet as Bob Robert Zimmerman Dillon in A Complete Unknown. He is threatening Brody's chances, especially at SAG, where A Complete Unknown got like 4 nominations. For him, for Edward Norton, for Monica Barbaro, and it got into Ensemble. It's been killing it with the guilds, of course. It got into DGA, it got into PGA. He's been showing up absolutely everywhere he needs to. He did lose to Brody at Golden Globe, but I feel like he can threaten to win at least at SAG, especially at SAG. I think that might happen. If Brody wins at SAG, I think it's over for Timmy, honestly. But I think Critics' Choice is kind of still between Brody and Chalamet. Chalamet may even win Critics' Choice there. Brody might win BAFTA. And then Timmy wins SAG, and then it'll be a race. It will basically be like a Stone Gladstone race from last year. Or if Timmy wins BAFTA somehow, then really watch out for Timmy's chances. And even if Brody wins at SAG, that'll still be really good. I think it'll still be like a 60-40 situation favoring Brody. So it really is a race between these two. And until we start seeing these ceremonies happen, like at this point, we would have seen Critics' Choice, but we have to wait until February 7th to see any more major precursor wins. So once we see these precursor wins happen, if Brody starts sweeping, then watch out Timmy. Even if Timmy wins SAG, it's still kind of a 50-50 thing or a 60-40 type of thing. But we'll see. We'll see. It's really between those two. And then we got Ralph Fiennes in Conclave. I bumped him up 1 notch above Coleman Domingo just because Conclave is a Best Picture nominee. Front runner, arguably. And it's been showing up everywhere. He's been showing up everywhere. It makes sense for him to put him at number 3. I don't think he has a chance to win. Honestly, it's just a nomination is the win in itself type of situation. And he's great in the film. but is definitely more of an understated performance from him comparatively to some of these other performances. But he is solidly in there. Coleman Domingo, Sing Sing. If Sing Sing is going to get any nomination in any category, I think it's going to be Coleman Domingo. He's hot off of his nomination from Rustin from last year. And Sing Sing is a great movie. And if it gets one nomination, I think it'll be this one. We'll get to supporting actor and screenplay and some of the other categories. But I feel like he's still solidly in there because he's still been showing up. Despite Sing Sing underperforming in these precursors, Domingo has still been showing up. And on top of that, he's been winning, I think, the most critics groups in Best Actor, even over Brody and Chalamet. It's a kind of a close race in critics groups right now, but he might have the most. So that is kind of helping his chances for sure. He's still in the conversation. And that number 5 slot is kind of it's kind of a wild card in a way. Right now I have Daniel Craig in Queer. He somehow got into SAG and he missed at BAFTA, which is the opposite of what me and probably most other people and Oscar pundits have been predicting. Like he's obviously a BAFTA pick and then he'll miss at SAG because it's a weird performance in a weird movie. Nope. SAG nominated him, and BAFTA nominated Hugh Grant over Daniel Craig, surprisingly. So that was kind of strange. Hugh Grant, I have at number 7 for right now. And look, he's been getting in everywhere except for SAG. He got into Globe, he got into Critics' Choice, and he got into BAFTA. Now, he's kind of a favorite at BAFTA, albeit, but he's been doing very well. But it's not really the type of performance that would get an Oscar nomination. Like, it would kind of shock me. I think Heretic would need some, I guess, more critical acclaim for that to happen. Some more attention towards it, but I don't know. I just don't see that happening. If that happens at the Oscars, I'll be very surprised. But I have him missing. So underneath Craig, I have Sebastian Stan in The Apprentice, who's been doing very well. He got into Golden Globe drama, and he won for A Different Man in Golden Globe comedy, so that definitely helps his chances. He even gave a shout out to The Apprentice in his acceptance speech at the Golden Globes, which was a very good move as far as campaigns. And then he got into BAFTA, which was really good. But the thing is, he has 2 performances this year. And what that means is that some voters are going to vote for his performance in The Apprentice, and some voters are going to vote for his performance in A Different Man. This is what's called vote splitting. And when you vote split, you have less votes in each performance, meaning that both of those performances will miss because they don't have enough votes to get into the top 5. So I feel like that's going to happen. I think that is what's going to kill his chances, and that is what's going to make Daniel Craig make that 5th spot. Why did I say splot? I articulated that sentence so well until I said the word splot. I meant spot, okay? Spot asterisk. I think that's what's going to happen if he does get into that 5th spot with splot. I keep saying splot. If he gets into that 5th spot for his performance in The Apprentice, that means then he got a ton of votes and he has a ton of support behind that performance internationally. So never say never, but I just feel like Craig is going to be the one in that 5th spot. I said splot again. What are we doing? Am I okay? And that is the SAG 5, and they usually go like 4 out of 5, 5 out of 5 in SAG to the Oscar in the past, I guess, 5 or 6 years. So that's another stat. But I can see that happening. A Different Man, I would love to see it. I would absolutely love to see it. But other than that Golden Globe win, it hasn't been showing up really anywhere else, unfortunately. That's at number 8. Jesse Eisenberg, I don't think that's going to happen unless the Oscars go gung-ho for A Real Pain and give it a screenplay win and Culkin wins actor. And he somehow gets into actor on top of a Best Picture nomination. If they go crazy for A Real Pain, maybe there's an outside shot. But even then, I don't really see it happening. But I have him listed here anyway. And then Glenn Powell, Hitman. That probably won't happen, but I have listed. I just wanted to do 10 instead of 9. So that's what I got for actor. Let us move on. Let's try to not say the word splot this time, James. Okay, here we go. Supporting actress. Supporting actress. I have Saldana and Grande in the top two. It really is between those two. But really, I think this is Saldana's to lose. I think she'll sweep the season. She's been doing very well everywhere else. I think Grande has more critics groups prizes, but they've been really going head to head all season long. Saldana did win the Golden Globe. It's more, and she's got a good narrative too. She's never been nominated. She's been working for a long time. She's more of like an actor figure than Grande is. Grande is definitely more of a musical performer, but I feel like Saldana makes the most sense here as a front runner. But Grande is right behind her, definitely solidly in there at number 2. And she's been getting in everywhere. You know, Saldana's been getting in everywhere, and Grande. Those two actresses are the only ones that have gotten into every major precursor. Underneath that is Isabella Rossellini in Conclave, and I doubted her chances for a long time before some of these precursors started happening, because I saw Conclave and she's in the movie for 5 minutes. I mean, but I think she just does barely enough, and she's a very loved actress that's been working for years and decades, and she has a great narrative for her as well. She's the daughter of, I want to say, Ingrid Bergman, right? Am I getting that right? So there's that going for her. But her performance in Conclave, it does enough for voters. She's been getting in everywhere. Her presence is felt throughout the film. She's the, I guess, sole like female presence in a very male-dominated film. And she definitely puts a good spin on everything. If you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. So she's really good in it, but I was downing it for a while just because of her screen time. But color me stupid because she's now number 3. She's definitely solidly in there. I don't see her winning. I don't think that's going to happen, but I think she's solidly in there. Felicity Jones. Now, this is kind of where it gets crazy. These last 2 slots could go anywhere. This is probably the most competitive acting category this year, for sure, as far as who's going to be getting in to those last 2 slots. For right now, I have Felicity Jones and I have Jamie Lee Curtis in The Last Showgirl. Possible upsets include Selena Gomez, Monica Barbaro, Anjanou Ellis-Taylor, Margaret Qualley. I think those 4 actresses could have a shot at getting one of those to the last 2 slots. Deadweiler, unfortunately, I think is just not going to happen. She did get into a couple places. She got that SAG nomination, and then she got the Critics' Choice nomination. But there's just not enough passion behind that performance, unfortunately, and behind that film in general. I'll be very shocked if it happens. I know we all know what happened a couple years ago with her performance in Till, where she got in virtually everywhere and missed it to the Oscars. I just think it's just not her time yet. It's not her time yet. I would personally nominate her in the category. She is great in that film, but I just don't see it happening. And then Elle Fanning I have at the bottom of the list just because she won NBR Best Supporting Actress out of nowhere. And she's really good in the film, but she hasn't been getting any other precursor nominations. But just because of that stat, I threw her down at the bottom. Who knows? I mean, A Complete Unknown is in the top 5 for Best Picture, so just why not just throw her down there? But Monica Barbaro is really the supporting female performance in that film that has the best shot to get nominated because she was nominated at SAG, and that was kind of a shock. So that could very well happen, especially if Complete Unknown really takes off in the latter half of the award season here. Selena Gomez is a very good possibility, especially if they will go gung-ho for Emilia Perez. If they nominate the hell out of it, I can definitely see Selena Gomez coming along. She has been getting in everywhere. She got into Globe, she got into BAFTA, but she missed Critics' Choice and she missed SAG. A lot of people were predicting her for SAG, but it just didn't happen. Saldana has really been the one that has been getting the most attention as far as supporting performances from that film. But, you know, they like to double nominate actors from films that they really like. So I can definitely see her get a squeeze in there. But she's just on the cusp underneath Felicity Jones and Jamie Lee Curtis. Now, Felicity Jones's chances really depend on what the Oscars reception for The Brutalist is. Now, there's a recent article that came out, or I don't know if it was an article, but if it was just like a tweet or something from somebody saying that they knew Oscar voters, they personally knew Oscar voters that did not get to see The Brutalist or did not finish The Brutalist. These are Oscar voters we're talking about. This is these are the people that are determining all of this for us. I'm doing all this work, and then these voters are just like, I didn't get it, it was too long, I fell asleep. Dude, no, not liking it, not liking it. I saw that and I'm like, you're making me nervous, bud. Don't be doing that to me, especially for my favorite film of the year. Stop. And it's because Felicity Jones is not in the first half of the film. She narrates the portions of the first half of the film, but she doesn't show up on screen until the very start of part 2, which is at least an hour and a half, if not 2 hours into the film. So are people even seeing her? Are these voters even recognizing her performance? Like, I mean, they got to get through a lot of films. And at this point, they're going to be like, oh, she's good, but you know, whatever. And there's some pundits out there for her performance as well. Like, there's some people that are like kind of like not as high on her performance as, say, Adrian Brody's performance or Guy Pearce's performance. I'm kind of sort of in the same boat, but I still think Felicity Jones is great in the film. Out of those 3 performances, she's my least favorite, but she's certainly a favorite. She's great. I think she does more than enough to get nominated. And, you know, I did see The Brutalist again, and like her performance, I kind of like viewed it in a more objective point of view, taking into account like other people's criticisms. And I was like, okay, yeah, I can kind of see like how you wouldn't be into her delivery and oeuvre in the film, give or take. Her character doesn't have as much depth per se as Brody's and Pierce's characters. But that's no knock on the performance. That's kind of more of a knock on the writing and how she's written. So really no shade to her at all. Like, she's doing everything she needs to do in the film. And I just feel like her chances, especially after that story, I mean, I'm going to take that story, that tweet with a grain of salt. I'm still going to be predicting her, but I'm just worried that she may very well miss. It's very possible. But I have her in. She missed at Globe. No, she got into Globe. She missed at Critics' Choice, and she missed at SAG. She did get into BAFTA, and BAFTA's really like The Brutalist. So she's on the cusp in a way, but I am still predicting her. More of a hope diction, but I still got her in. And then the shocker here is Jamie Lee Curtis in The Last Showgirl, which shockingly got a SAG nomination and a BAFTA nomination out of nowhere. Now, I don't know whether putting her here is because of what we went through a couple years ago.
What the fuck? Are you... What?
With her shockingly winning SAG for Everything Everywhere All at Once a couple years ago. And then that was enough for her to win the Oscar. So, but that was more of a career win. I don't think it's going to happen again. I mean, if she wins the SAG again, I'm going to walk out of my apartment. And look, it's not a knock against her as an actress. It's not a knock against her performance in the film, which I hear is great. I haven't seen the film yet. Again, some of these films are just not available. I don't get screeners. Give me a screener. Give me a screener. She's a great actress. Don't get me wrong, but it's more of like a trauma processing for her to just show up last minute out of nowhere. I'm very prepared. This is a preparation prediction. We'll call it a PP, if you will. You don't have to. We're doing a preparation prediction for Jamie Lee Curtis for Last Showgirl. I can just see it happening. She got into SAG and BAFTA. That's really strong for her. She won an Oscar a couple years ago. It could just happen again. And she's on the awards front. She's on the campaign front. Sure. I'm kind of throwing my hands up here, but that's what we're going with for the last 2 slots. Like I said, any of these 4 actresses could also get into those last 2 slots, but that's what we got. Saldana, Grande, Rossellini, Jones, Curtis next. Supporting actor. Here we go. So, Culkin has been crushing it this season. He's basically been sweeping critics' prizes. Some going to Borisov here, some going to Pierce there, some going to Norton there. But it has mostly been Culkin's show all season long, and he's hot off his Emmy wins for Succession for sure. And he's a very charming dude, and he gives some of the best speeches. I think it's just going to happen. He's just going to steamroll his way through this awards race for supporting actor. He got Golden Globe. He very well may win Critics' Choice and SAG for sure, especially with Pierce not being nominated at SAG. We're still on a search and rescue mission for him there, but he will most likely win SAG, and that'll give him his last push to finally win the Oscar. If he wins BAFTA, then that'll be like what's it called, a Divine Joy Randolph type of win, like where at BAFTA, if they're gonna lose any award this season, it's gonna be at BAFTA. Well, Divine Joy Randolph won the BAFTA last year, and if Culkin wins BAFTA, it's over. You don't even need to predict in this category anymore. You just go lock it up. So at BAFTA, maybe Pierce can pull something off, but even if Pierce wins at BAFTA, I just don't see it happening for him at the Oscars. If you don't get nominated at SAG, your chances at winning the Oscar are basically zero. So Pierce, even if you win BAFTA, and even if you somehow win Critics' Choice too, which I don't think is going to happen, your Oscar chances are like pretty much in the water, which is a shame because he is phenomenal on The Brutalist. But I think this is Culkin's year. Underneath Culkin, I do not have Guy Pearce. I have Yuri Borisov, who I have above Pierce just because he's gotten in everywhere. He hasn't missed a single spot in the precursor race here. He's been showing up everywhere. He's won a couple critics groups. He's a very likable dude. Wonderful performance. Very understated, but very wonderful. He's great. I love him. Guy Pearce we talked about. Edward Norton is another one that has been gotten in, pretty much everywhere. So I have him at number 3. Not been winning a whole lot, but he's a very well-loved actor, very well-loved figure. It's going to be his first nomination since Birdman, which was about a decade ago. And then at the 5th spot, I said Splot again. I have Macklin, man. Am I hope dicting again? I might be. I got Macklin. It's more of a heart. It's more of a heart to heart, if you know what I mean. Macklin, man, my boy missed Golden Globe. My boy missed SAG. But he got into BAFTA, and that was wonderful to see that. Got into Critics' Choice, of course. And his narrative is so cool. He's a great dude, and his performance, Sing Sing, kind of rides on the shoulders of Coleman Domingo and Clarence Macklin. But really, without Clarence Macklin, Sing Sing is like, what would it be? It wouldn't be as good without him. He really is like the heart. He really is the heart of that film. And he's just great. If you've seen it, you know. Like, man. And I think he was a front runner early on, but I think he's just on the cusp to get in, but I would love to see it. So yeah, at the end of the day, I think this is a hope diction. So Macklin, I got in at number 5. Why not? Jeremy Strong definitely threatens to take his place. He's been performing a little bit better, I think. He got into Globe, he got into BAFTA, he got into SAG. He's only missed at Critics' Choice. And The Apprentice has its fans, its international fans. And I hear he's wonderful in that film too. So I can see that happening as well. Another Succession boy. If both Succession boys get into the Oscars and Strong has to lose against Culkin once again, that it happened at Golden Globe. If that happens again at the Oscars, it'll be hilarious. But he is solidly at number 6. I can see that happening. Jonathan Bailey, man, I got it number 7. Because he got into SAG, man. He got into SAG. And that was a shock for sure. I doubt it'll happen at the Oscars. Highly, highly doubt it unless they go gung-ho for Wicked and it's winning Best Picture or something. I don't see it really happening. Tucci, Conclave has blanked absolutely everywhere. I don't even know why I have him listed anymore. He's a previous nominee, and he's good enough to be nominated, in my opinion. But if they throw a random bone to Tucci, man, that would be insane. But I have him listed anyway. Denzel for Gladiator 2. I just don't think that's happening. That's the hype for not only Gladiator 2, but like, yeah, I guess really the buzz and the hype for Gladiator 2 has kind of waned a lot, and it's really the film itself hasn't been getting really any late season recognition really anywhere, even in the craft guilds. I know Denzel got in the Globe and Critics' Choice, but I think that's where it's going to stop. I think that's it. I think that's it for him. So I got him down there. And look, man, I was gut dicting Adam Pearson for a very long time. I had him at like number 6 and number 5 previously, just because like I thought like that was something that they were going to go out for. But A Different Man just kind of like, outside of its Gotham win, it just kind of came and went. You know, A24 is really putting all of their eggs into The Brutalist, and well, I guess just The Brutalist, really. That's really the only one. They kind of shoved Sing Sing aside and some of their other films aside, like Baby Girl. It's just in that boat. And Adam Pearson, look, man, he hasn't been showing up really at all. Really at all. He hasn't been showing up. And man, he deserves it because he carries that film along with Stan. Kind of like Sing Sing and Domingo and Macklin. He carries it alongside Stan, and he is such an infectious presence in that film. And he's such a great dude as well. And he would have given an incredible speech, and he would have lit up the room as he does in the film. But man, I have him at the bottom of the list here. I have him at the bottom of the list. So that's it. That's what I got for the acting categories. I got Culkin, Borzov, Pierce, Norton, and Macklin. Locking it up. And let's move on. All right, here we go. The screenplay category, starting with adapted screenplay. Conclave, I think, is winning. It's been crushing it. It did miss at WGA just because it was ineligible, but it won at Golden Globe. I feel like it'll definitely win at BAFTA, and Critics' Choice definitely has a shot to win as well. I just see it happening. It's just really the only one that really has a shot at winning, unless Amelia Perez is winning Best Picture and then it takes up screenplay. Other than that, I just think it is kind of running away with this award for right now. So I have that at number 1, Amelia Perez, and then at number 3, I have Complete Unknown because it's in the top 5 for Best Picture. And then the next 2, these are the consolation spots because for adapted screenplay, because Nickel Boys and Sing Sing, I have both missing Best Picture, but they've been doing very well in screenplay. Sing Sing got into Critics' Choice and BAFTA. Nickel Boys got into Critics' Choice BAFTA, and it got a WGA nom, which was amazing. So I feel like that is something that will happen for sure. That top 5 looks good to me. Dune Part 2 I have just barely missing. Missing at BAFTA was a big blow. It did get Critics' Choice nominated, and it got WGA nominated, but it missing at BAFTA was kind of a big blow. It's on the cusp. It could still happen. It could take the place of Nickel Boys or Sing Sing, or maybe even a Complete Unknown, shockingly, but I just don't really see it happening. Wicked, they don't usually like to nominate musical films, especially musicals based on existing like Broadway musicals, unlike Amelia Perez. I just don't really see that happening. That could be a surprise. I'm Still Here I have listed. I have a feeling that I'm Still Here, it hasn't been getting in anywhere. And in fact, I don't even think I have it listed in my race spreadsheet here. But I have a hunch that, remember a couple years ago when The Worst Person in the World was nominated out of nowhere, which was an international feature nominee, and it didn't even win in that category that year. Drive My Car won, which was also nominated in a screenplay, in adapted screenplay that year. I can see I'm Still Here pulling off a Worst Person in the World thing, where it just blanks everywhere else, and then the Oscars just picks it out of the ether, and they're like, "Oh, plop that into adapted screenplay. Why not? That's really good." That would be cool. That would be really cool. Again, it'll take the place of Nickel Boys or Sing Sing, which isn't ideal, but it would be really great to see. It would be great to see that it is not an impossibility. I can see it happening, but it's still an outside shot nevertheless. I have it at number 8. Hitman, I don't know why I have that listed. That's probably not going to happen. Richard Linklater, why not? Whatever. Let's move on. All right, we got original screenplay here. Anora is now the front runner. For me. For some reason, I had A Real Pain at number 1 early on before the precursor started happening. It's not impossible for A Real Pain to win here because that still seems like a screenplay win that could just happen. You know, it's got a lot of heart in the screenplay. It's very funny. It's very quick. It's very witty. They like to go with screenplays like that for sure, whether they're Best Picture nominees or not. It happened last year with American Fiction. So it could still happen. But if it does win here, that means that Real Pain is winning 2 Oscars. And that means that it's very much getting nominated for Best Picture. But it's on the cusp to get nominated for Best Picture. So I'm having my doubts of it winning screenplay now. So now I have Anora, which is definitely getting into Best Picture. And it might be even one of the front runners for Best Picture, especially if Mikey Madison is nominated, if not wins. So it just makes more sense for me to have Anora winning than A Real Pain as of right now. But those are the top 2 slots for sure. I have The Brutalist here. That's been getting in everywhere pretty much. Yeah, that's been showing up everywhere. It was ineligible at WGA, but not going to lose sleep over that. September 5, I have it in for picture. So I got to have it into at least one other category. And if it's going to be any other category, major category, it's going to be screenplay. So I have it in at screenplay. And it did get a Critics' Choice nomination for screenplay. So there you go. I can see it happening. So I have it in. I have it in for right now. And that number 5 slot is really between these 2 films. I have challengers in for right now, but a very likely possibility would be The Substance. Now, The Substance missed WGA. Challengers got in to WGA. So that means I am going, 3 out of 5 with WGA, which seems to be the norm. On average, WGA typically goes 3 to 4 out of 5 every year in every awards race. So it just made the most sense to me. But again, The Substance has been performing better than Challengers in terms of its precursor tally. But The Substance is more of like a vibes screenplay. It's not a very dialogue-heavy film, but a lot of the film's ideas and a lot of the film's insanity is portrayed in the screenplay. I did actually look at the screenplay. It was uploaded or it leaked or something. It was on Twitter going around. And it's very creative, we'll say, the screenplay. So it's very unique for sure. Its uniqueness is really what carries the quality of the screenplay, and not really its content, its dialogue content. So you kind of have to view it that way instead of just like, oh, that's barely any dialogue, whatever. Not to mention it won Best Screenplay at Cannes, but again, that's probably because they wanted to give that film something at Cannes other than whatever. I digress. I think Challengers and The Substance are battling for that number 5 slot. But for right now, I have Justin Skrzydski's getting in for Challengers. Underneath that is Hard Truths, Mike Leigh. They love Mike Leigh. Mike Leigh has been nominated a bunch at the Oscars for not only screenplay, but for director as well. The only thing is, where's Hard Truths? Hard Truths has blanked all season long. Blanked. Hard Truths has blanked all season long. Even at BAFTA, it blanked. And they love Mike Leigh over there. So I just don't see it happening. It'll be kind of a shock if it happens. But I do have it listed just because of that stat. Civil War, Kneecap, My Old Ass, I Saw a TV Glow. Very outside shots. Civil War did get into WGA. And the same thing with My Old Ass. So that's why I have those listed. And I Saw the TV Glow is mostly just like a Hail Mary. Just like a final like Hail Mary. Just like, oh, you want to do some super cool Academy? Here you go. Well, they got to catch it. But I have a feeling they got oiled up hands, if you know what I mean. I just don't think it's going to happen, but it's a Hail Mary pass. That being said, I think that will do for the screenplay categories. Let's get on to the text, ladies and gentlemen.